The New York Knicks have a chance to put the Detroit Pistons away tonight. They had a chance to the other night as well, and they lost that game for themselves. Brunson is an unbelievable story. He is a second round pick who, it is the classic, right? He's a second round pick because he's too small. And so Marcus Stroman, height doesn't measure heart, baby. He goes out there, he works his ass off. He turns himself into a really good role player on the Mavericks at just the right time, hits free agency, and he goes to the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, and turns the New York Knicks, one of the marquee franchises of the NBA, but also one of the laughingstocks of the NBA for the better part of 20 years, and turns them into a contender, and shows that he can be a star that you can build around. And he puts together awesome performance after awesome performance after awesome performance. And so I do not want to take away from the overall whatever of Jalen Brunson. And also, he is the best player in this series still. But he lost them that game, I think. And we'll talk about the coaching decision in a second, but everything on this offense, and this was one of the frustrations with the Knicks, is that sometimes it can just get a little bit too Brunson takes over. And maybe for a bit he had to do that, but this is not a team that he has to do that on now. Last year, where it is him and basically that is it on the offensive side. Sometimes, no, they had a good team, but then they go out and they get OG Anunoby. And then in the offseason, they go out and get Bridges. And they get Karl Anthony Towns. Sir, you do not have to do this all on your own anymore. In fact, it's better when you don't. When this offense is running and Cat, who has mismatch after mismatch, is knocking down shots. And Bridges is able to attack. And Hart is coming up with some energy plays. And Anunoby is hitting key shots. That's when this thing really starts to thrive, is when everyone is getting involved. You're the linchpin of it and you can go. But the second that it starts to get a little bit wobbly, he just goes into ISO mode. And then he got cold in the game, and it allowed Detroit to get back in it. And you're screaming at the TV, just do something else. The second it goes a little bit off, he just goes, they run ISO through this guy every time, and it wasn't working in that game. And it allowed Detroit to get back into it, and you're pulling your hair out because you know what it's supposed to look like, and you know how good it can look like. And it's not looking like that. And for no other reason than just this guy is just holding on to the basketball. And again, awesome guy. This isn't like it's like McBride going out there and being like, no, guys, I got this one. This is one of the best players in the league who's going out and doing that. And so he is, in some cases, justified in what he is doing, but in other ways, that's not how this team has won these games. And it is, quite honestly, how this team has lost some of their games. And so if you want to drive and kick and Bridges misses an open three, which is happening too much in this series, but if you want to do that and he misses, that ain't on you, my guy. But when you are going out there ISO and missing jump shots, it's not working, and it allowed Detroit to get back into these games. And then the coaching situation late. So for those who didn't watch, Brunson just kind of flashing out on a guy. It's a basketball injury that has happened to basically everyone who has played the sport, where your toe just kind of catches and your ankle kind of just gives a quick over, and it's ow, 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 ow. And all of a sudden, it feels like Thor has just struck your ankle with lightning. That's basically what this was feeling like for him. And so he has to he tries to play through, but hops off. And then there's a loose ball, and Bridges gets dove into or onto or whatever, and he is slow to get up. So they both exit and try to get them back as quickly as they can in what was a very close game. The problem was, for the first time in these playoffs, there was an extended run with no whistles. And so while this is happening, while two of the three most important players on the Knicks are not just on the sideline getting fixed, because that's one thing, they are at the scorer's table ready to check into the game, the Pistons go on a run. And not only do they come back, tie the game, they take the lead, and then they take the lead by multiple possessions, if I remember correctly. And I'm not going to say they put the game away, but all of a sudden there's 35 seconds left, and now you have two guys who can't walk, who now have to come up with magic and make things happen, and almost did but didn't. That's inexcusable. They still had a timeout left, and while I can understand wanting to save a timeout in the foul, free throw, whatever, I still, in the final 2 minutes of this game want my two best guys out there, hobbled or not. If I just need them as a distraction so that Cat doesn't get quadruple teamed trying to go to the goal, then fine. But I need those guys out there and actively doing something. And there's a bit of it where you can see, like, okay, we're still ahead. Maybe we're buying a couple extra moments and a few extra steps on these injured body parts for these guys. But once it gets just a little bit wobbly, you gotta call that timeout and get these guys out there. Like, I would rather go down with the ship with my guys even a little bit banged up in the final couple of minutes than whatever was happening there with the Knicks. And it just took all the momentum out of the game, took all the air out of that building in Madison Square Garden, which is really hard to do that in a playoff game. And it gave the Detroit Pistons some life. So, look, the Pistons have been good. The Knicks lost that game, I think, with some not great coaching from Tibbs. It's funny. You never would have thought that with the way the regular season has gone, that saying, oh, you know what? Tibbs sat his guys just a little bit too much. You never would have thought that would have been the criticism, but that's what we had coming out of that one. But again, credit to Detroit. They're going to continue to grow from this. Cade, it does feel like every game they start, they are like, oh my God, what do we do? Like, they get bright-eyed for every game, and then they settle in and start to make a game of it. But it's like every game, New York gets off to a good start. Pistons can't hit anything. Cade looks like he's playing with the wrong hand out there. And then he's like, oh, right, I'm, at worst, the second best player in this series, so I'm just going to be awesome for a bit. That cool? And then Beasley will hit a couple shots, and they'll work their way back into it. This is a fantastic learning experience for these guys. And for Cade Cunningham, solidifying himself as at least worthy of the hype that we had for him a little bit and getting Detroit basketball back on the map.